plus 850. Well, look, I mean, ultimately, if the guy wins the MVP and they get their ass chopped up and handed to them in the first round because they didn't trade Ben Simmons, we'll be celebrating it like we celebrated Bryce Harper's MVP.
Look at that.
All right, welcome into the Odd Shopper Betting Show. Appreciate you hanging with us. We won't waste any of your time. We'll dive right into it right away here. Myself, Ben Rasa, and of course, Mike Awesemo producing. You out there hanging with us, hit the thumbs up button right away. We're building 3K. We're building here, so make sure you are subscribed. If you're not already, then bang right away. The community, the chat, very inviting, sharp as well. They also are going to hit us with some lock it ups before we get out of here, or really the chat throughout the show. So championship football is upon us, Ben. We did a lot in the NBA past couple of days, including Monday. May touch on some college, some NBA, or maybe even some hockey. No African soccer for me after that disgrace there with the goaltending fiasco. But we have football, my friend. And after last weekend, let's just hope that it can keep up with what we saw Sunday night.
Well, it's not going to. I don't think anything can live up to what we saw on Sunday. But you know what? We get four fantastic teams, two very interesting games. One is a trilogy. The other is a rematch. So we got some information to go on. We've got a 7.5-point spread for the Kansas City game, a much tighter spread in that Rams game. They are slight favorites, but there's just a ton to break down from the player props to the games themselves, obviously sides and totals. I'm excited to get into it. And these are, I don't think you could ask for two better games. All the teams are worthy. They deserve to be there. That's really all you can ask for.
It's a great point, right? We're not dealing with George Mason, who snuck their way into after knocking off.
Those were the days.
If I could date myself.
Yeah, right. Maybe I'll sneak in a little college basketball. There's gonna be a lot more college basketball on this Odd Shopper channel soon enough. Good. A lot of coming. March is fast and rapidly approaching.
Look, after the night that you, myself, and Laffy had collectively last night, I'll take anything we can get today. Ooh. Scrape by with whatever we can get, man. All right, so let's jump into this here. We'll start with, we'll go in chronological order. We have the AFC game early, which I don't know. The Chiefs, I thought, would be the primetime draw here, but I get it, the trilogy and everything there with the Rams and also just the broadcast schedule with it. But 7.5. It's all about Odd Shopper, wherever you can find. Of course, we constantly tell you to go there, the free tool, wherever you can find the best number. If you like the Chiefs, you can get them at 7. You like the Bengals, well, you can get them at 7.5. So just start with a game, Ben. Side, total, as aggressive as you want to be. Maybe an alternate spread. Maybe you're playing the first half. But ultimately, while I think the Bengals can hang, it's just hard for me to lay 7 points. But at the same time, it's hard for me to say that the Bengals are going to win the game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think first off, the Chiefs -1 will be an extremely popular teaser piece. After a week where basically you cashed every teaser, no matter who you bet, because the games were so close, I think a lot of people are going to be betting teasers. And I think a lot of people are going to go to the Chiefs there. Looking at Odd Shopper, a couple of 7.5s are popping up. If it's 7.5, I'm leaning towards the Bengals. I'm not going to bet the Chiefs at 7.5. If it's 7, yeah, I get it. I'm with you. It's hard to see this team. I mean, if the Bills couldn't do it and they played not defensively perfect, but offensively perfect, I have a feeling that the Bengals are going to be in some trouble here. You know, the Raiders, the Titans, they're not the Chiefs. So
yeah,
I guess I want to ask you, though, just looking at the game, and it's a huge if Cincinnati wins, do you think it's because they outscore the Chiefs or because they control the ball and limit the Chiefs offense and win a game that goes like under the total?
I think it's a combination of circumstances. And, you know, any given Sunday is such a narrow net to cast when you get into these types of games, especially when it's two teams that deserve to be there. So I don't think it's going to be bizarre. Like, oh my goodness, Pat Mahomes couldn't handle, 3 different snaps that went over his head that resulted into defensive touchdowns. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be that ridiculous set of circumstances, but I think it can't just be what you laid out. The Bengals beating the Chiefs at Arrowhead in the conference championship game, like this Bengals team, who's on a roll, and I get it. And we've seen years prior where the underdog has come in, they've been on a roll. But this Chiefs team, the only reason why people are even hesitant to take any type of like certainty that they're going to win the game is because of that small little little shit bump that they ran through at the start of the season where everybody was like, oh my God, they're no longer the same team. This is the same Chiefs look team offensively at the very least that has run through in the past right through the Super Bowl. So I like Kansas City to win this game. It's just hard for me to see the Bengals doing that. If they did, I think it's a combination. It's a combination of slowing down Kansas City, Ben, sorry, and then also the Chiefs making mistakes, which I don't necessarily know how prone they are.
No, they don't really make. I mean, you could probably need some fluky stuff. You fumble upon, kind of like what the Niners did to the Packers. Not that it was all fluky, but just weird stuff happens and it shakes up the game. Credit to Cincinnati. They already beat this team once. Now, I don't take much of anything into what we saw in that game. The only thing I really remember from it is the Bengals just repeatedly going for it on fourth down when they could have kicked a field goal because they didn't want to give Mahomes the ball even with any time left. And they almost got Burrow killed. And then Brandon Allen took knees and they won the game. But that's not really relevant here. I'm interested to me as we start to dive into it, and I'm looking at Odd Shopper. Joe Mixon to me is the wild card here. He's got full control of the backfield. P. Ryan and Evans had one touch each. How active is he going to be? They got away from him a little bit against Tennessee. He didn't have a bad game, but he didn't have, 25 carries or anything like that. It was 14 carries for 54 yards. The offensive line is shaky at best. I think they have to win time of possession against the Chiefs. I don't know how they go punch for punch with Mahomes in the offense. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think to piggyback off of your point with volume, it's going to take a serious game script of a blowout and then maybe even then some to phase Joe Mixon out of the game. Like he's just very difficult to remove from the game script. So running, even if it's just first down, you're down 17 points and you still need to establish something with Mixon. And we talked about this on our Odd Shopper video this morning that's going to be up on site here about the probability of any of these three big receivers getting downfield, pushed out of bounds at the 2-3, a flag in the end zone, what have you, putting Mixon in scoring position as well. So, yeah, I think you can attack Mixon from a couple of different angles, from his rushing total, which is just low because the expectation is that they're going to throw, rightfully so. But there's definitely strategy to keeping Mahomes off the field. And I also like, and look, we'll start with the grounded play, which is taking Joe Mixon anytime TD. And, it's going to be a little bit there of a lay, right? But at the same time, to get him at 850 on 2 touchdowns, especially if you think the Bengals are hanging in this game, that's not terrible. He's an anytime minus 130. Pardon me. He's plus 430 on 2 touchdowns. Sorry, I looked at the wrong one. That changed everything there. But still, I don't hate that either. If you were going to lay a half unit on that, if you like, it's all predicated on you liking the Bengals. But I don't see how you like the Bengals to either cover or maybe even flat out win this game. But at the very least, cover that 7.5 and not look at Mixon either scoring anytime or scoring anytime and 2+ touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's all risk tolerance and just finding the all those 2+ custom things. 90% of the time, the books are just absolutely crushing you on those. But that's why you use Odd Shopper. You kind of get a feel for what you're looking at. Then you can navigate and find some edges. There's no doubt about it. They are out there. Mixon to me is a guy. The interesting thing, and I don't want to get too hung up just on him. A lot of the work, a lot of the touches have been targets. In the last 4 games, 6, 8, 5, and 7 targets for him. So it is a little tough to just consolidate rushing attempts because a lot of the time they're giving him some work in the passing game. And obviously they've been winning in these games. So I don't know if it's just, they fall behind and they give Mixon the ball. He is the passing threat out of the backfield. And Cincinnati's offense, you've got Mixon, you've got Awesemo, and you've got the 3 receivers. That is it. They don't use other players. So it's pretty concentrated amongst those 5. Burrow will have all of them getting a healthy target share.
Yeah, look, man, I think we may have to burn through the next game and a lot like 10 minutes to talk about what's happening at the Farmers because our chat, and rightfully so, I mean, they are golf. Look at how golf savvy everybody is right now, talking about what's happening from matchups to futures to anything we can take advantage of the Farmers. We even have to blow off the NBA or something for that today.
Farmers, great
Ricky
tournament.
Fowler.
Ricky Fowler, I will just say, we're going to talk about NFL predominantly, but I will say real quick about Ricky. I love Ricky in life. Ricky has to play the South course today, so I'm a little skeptical of what we see. He looked great on the North course, but I wouldn't be stunned, even remotely surprised to see him shoot like 77 today and just miss the cut. The South course is a totally different situation.
Yeah, that's and it's Fowler too, so I understand.
Yeah, I hope he plays good.
Yeah, look, I'm not rooting against him. I don't have a no ticket for him by any means, but Shelton was locking up Leishman over Reed.
That's fine. Reed's got a lot of swing changes going on. So
there you go. Take advantage of it, right? Just like if we had quarterbacks with any type of mechanical issues. All right, so player props now with anything specific. Again, we talked about Joe Mixon on one end, Patrick Mahomes over passing yards, even Burrow over passing yards. We're below 290 on both of these guys. You could definitely correlate if you like, but just looking at Jamar Chase is on an absolute tear, man. I mean, he's been over 100 yards in 6 of 7 games? No, 4 or 5, games. He scored a touchdown in a bunch as well. 85.5. You can go over that, or you could really just stretch it here for any type of alternate. And if you wanted to push this thing to 100, then you would get a decent. But look, going over at 85.5, especially since we like this game to be closer, Burrow throwing the football, I love going over 85.5 for Chase. I still think that's not. He's been, again, over 100 yards in 4 or 5 games. I think you can close to lock that up.
I mean, yeah, there's no doubt that he's just electric every time. He's seemingly, even in quiet games against Tennessee, he didn't do much, but he had a 57-yard pass, and it was a little screen pass that he broke open. He's had a reception longer than 20 yards in 5 straight games. I'm just very interested because against Kansas City was it's not his coming out party, but it was his biggest game and one of the biggest games we've ever seen from a receiver. In week 17, he had 11 catches for 266 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Chiefs.
Ridiculous.
So what do they do? Do they bracket him? Do they say we're not going to let Chase beat us, and that opens it up for Higgins and Boyd? Tyrann Mathieu is still in concussion protocol. We'll have to see if he practices to play. They're going to need him because, everyone, the game was so absurd. One of the things that I think isn't talked about enough, Gabe Davis was just wide open in key moments.
Amazing.
Against that secondary. And I worry about Kansas City secondary because that was not good defense at all.
No, it's a great correlation, I think, to the total, where I have no problem playing the over here. I think the Chiefs alone, we're talking about the home team. Chiefs have seen the total go over 7 times. This is not some sort of heavy adjusted line either, or number, if you will, here for the total. It's not like it's been bumped up to 57 or something along those lines to compensate in any way. So, yeah, I think Chase, even if there's a plan to slow Chase down, we've seen that with other teams. 4 of the last 5 games just absolutely sputter, including the Chiefs. And yeah, Matthew being out is gigantic. So I think you can start to look at other guys as well. Maybe even go and completely counter and say, look, even if there is going to be some sort of attempt of a blanket on Chase, you can attack Higgins, who's a little bit less at 70.5. Right to Boyd, if you think that there's a pathway for Boyd at 39.5. But I think all 3 of these guys, from an over standpoint, are live. I'm just going to take Ben, the guy who, no matter what the defense is thrown over, more often than not, he's been able to overcome that.
Yeah, I have no problem if you're building same game parlays where you're looking to bet the over, you're going to throw some of these guys in. I do think that Chase is and that's more of a DFS topic that we'll talk about throughout the week. I think he's more of a boom bust guy than a floor guy. When teams take him away or he doesn't explode, he's relatively quiet. Whereas to me, T. Higgins is more of a possession receiver. Boyd works in the slot. I don't know what to really expect of him, but I think if you think that if you think that Chase has a quiet game, you can really construct some interesting things going over on these other receivers, because Burrow's going to throw a lot. He had 400 plus yards against the Chiefs the first time. I know Chase took the lion's share, but I think there'll be ample opportunities for the non-Chase Bengals receivers.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have the same, it's not like the apples to apples comparison by any means, and your reference as far as DFS is concerned. So it's not like we're entering 150 lineups for same game parlays. But if you were to build a counter chase, and look, you could do the same thing on the Rams game. We'll get into the Rams game here as well and kind of transition the two. Hit that thumbs up button, please, if you haven't already. As we always ask you to subscribe, lock it up. I see one here from Bloomfield we'll get to as well in the NFL. But the same thing, I think, correlates to a fade chase, just like you would fade Cup in the Rams and Niners game, to where there's an obvious target for a quarterback, to where if that guy is taken out of the game or just has a slow game, you can build around with a quarterback and at least two other targets to again still go over and have a decent same game parlay, or just attack them individually. It doesn't have to be all same game parlay, but that was the point, is that I think there are two in both games, right, with Chase and Cup, to where you can counter the field, or at least the general idea that those two guys are going to dominate, and build a nice little strategy around it.
Yeah, again, I think that's same game parlays, and we have plenty of tutorials on this very channel on how to build them. I think it starts with what you think happens in the game. And I use the easiest example, the Niners-Packers game. If you really like the under in that game, the same game parlay would have built itself. Just taking the under on these passing yards, under on these receiving yards, not having touchdown scores in there, and you build an effective one. On the flip side, if you thought one of these games shoots out, boom, you're going to have a couple anytime touchdown scores in there, a lot of overs. I think this game probably lends itself more to that. It's a 54.5 point total looking at Odd Shopper. So it's just kind of constructing, who do you think's live to fall in the end zone, and who do you think's live for an outlier big game?
3 straight games at home. The Pringle man has found a
That
way
guy,
to get into the end zone. Look, keep it rolling, Ben.
He does find the end zone on limited amount of targets.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. We're talking about the Rams-Niners game, right?
What? I mean, not yet. We can. You want to talk about
I'm sorry. I don't know. For some reason, I thought that you transitioned into the Rams-Niners game. I was looking at a message to see whether or not we were going to hit the NBA. And then I thought that I missed your transition and went back to the Bengals game and screwed everything up. So if I didn't, then we're still good to go.
We're definitely good to go. No, I was just talking about the Niners-Packers game very briefly.
Okay.
Well, I don't have much else to say on this game. Honestly, I think
neither.
What I want to monitor is Tyrann Mathieu going to play? Certainly on Sunday, we're going to have full coverage for this. I lean to the over. If I had to take a position, it would be Kansas City, particularly at 7. I'm at 7.5. I'm not betting Kansas City, but I don't really like the side in that game. I like the second game. Now we can transition if you're ready. Niners, yes. Rams, the trilogy, 3.5 point favorite for LA, 45.5 point total.
Look, man, I think this is, again, a dog on the road. Clearly, I get it. What bothers me is that there's a hook predominantly throughout here. And again, you go to Odd Shopper. Unfortunately, depending on where you're looking, you're probably not going to get this down to 3. It looks pretty locked at 3.5. That bothers me, because the Niners have won 6 straight, against the Rams, including the game that propelled them into the postseason. They clearly have enough talent on defense to where they're suffocating teams. I mean, they're running the football clearly well. Debo is a big part of that. They're like, logistically speaking, data-driven speaking, this is a top football team that just has a decent, at best, quarterback who's not screwing shit up. This, again, like that hook doesn't make much sense to me. And that's what bothers me. And that's why I am not even playing a side right now so much as I love a total in here. And if I were to play a side, I would just say, you know what? Why not? If you like what you've seen so far from the Niners and you think the Niners can cover this game, then just put it on the money line at this point and let that ride and let this trend continue.
So I definitely think this is one you obviously, like any bet, you really want to monitor where this is heading potentially. It's 3.5 everywhere right now. I think it's more likely to go to 3 than 4, to be honest. So if you're betting the Rams, I would wait. I think that there's a chance that you can find 3 out there. It may be -115. or something, but I would rather lay the 3 than find the 3.5. And if you don't, I'll end up probably backing 3.5. I like the Rams in the game. I'll get that out there right now. I think they win. I think they break this streak. I've said this a lot, said it against Arizona, said it against Tampa. When Matthew Stafford does not throw interceptions, the Rams have not been beaten the entire year. And I know that's a big if. He threw 2 in each game against San Francisco, but lately he has cleaned that up. And when he does that, I think that the Rams are very difficult to beat. And then on the flip side, Jimmy G, I mean, he was so fortunate to only throw 1 interception against Green Bay. He threw a terrible pick against Dallas. He's thrown for 172 and 131 yards passing in the 2 playoff games. He obviously gives you 0 on the ground. Defense and running obviously is the formula for the Niners, but the Rams know that. And I think the Rams personnel is better equipped to stop that than Arizona or Tampa or Green Bay, I should say.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think when you look at the quarterbacks alone, it's hard to bet against Stafford here versus Garoppolo. It's just this Niners team. You mentioned the last time they played. It's not like they split, right? And one game the Rams lost was week 3, and they're a completely different football team. I don't think we have that scenario here. We have a Niners team that has found a way to beat Matthew Stafford twice this year and to beat Sean McVay 4 times prior to that. So again, if this were 3, then I think it would be a lot easier to comprehend. The fact that they're giving the Niners this extra little gift here, it doesn't make sense. Like they don't, and again, maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe I'm looking a gift horse in the mouth, that big ass jaw, and I'm just looking and staring right at it, Ben, but it doesn't make sense why the Niners would need that extra hook. Does that make sense as far as my concern that the line is maybe too generous to San Francisco? Or is that simply that it's off and I should be pounding San Fran at plus 3.5?
I mean, I obviously don't think that, I think that this spread feels about right. I give a lean to the Rams just because I think they are the better team. I think too much is being made that the Niners have beat them 6 in a row. I don't think that means honestly much of anything at this point. Maybe you want to speak to the personnel and the schemes, but to me, this is more about Stafford versus Garoppolo. The defenses are very strong. The running backs are very strong. Kupp, Kittle, Debo, both these teams have ample weapons, but I trust the Rams to win a multitude of games. That's the other thing. If the Rams fall behind, I think they can come back. If the Niners fall behind and it devolves into a Jimmy G bring us back, I just don't see it. I really do not.
Good point.
So I think the Rams have more outs. I'm going to search for 3. I'm going to bide my time. You mentioned though, you have a kind of a feel on the total potentially.
Yeah, I like the under here.
Okay.
I think, especially, I don't think the Rams have to light the scoreboard up necessarily to win football games, especially against the Niners. And they don't have to, they're not forced to keep up with San Francisco's offense. And I think we talk a lot about keeping quarterbacks off the field. The Rams can keep the ball on the field. They can hit Kupp. They can hit guys methodically. Another guy we're going to get to in a second that I like from a player prop standpoint. It's not just going to be big plays, super plays down the field. I think LA wants to keep George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, to a lesser extent, Eli Mitchell off the field, right? Brandon Ayuk. They want to keep the guys around Garoppolo off the field as opposed to just inviting Jimmy to make a mistake. So I also think that the defenses here are worthy of playing. Rams defense did a freaking number last week, as have the Niners really for the last 2 games in the postseason. So both defenses have enough, I think, to make quarterbacks uncomfortable. And I don't think it impacts if you like San Fran or if you like the Rams, either way, the under, I think, can correlate to both.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with any of that. The difference for me, just to sum it up, once again, to me, the Niners defense has to make plays. The Rams defense, if they make some plays, that's a luxury because Stafford could win the game. There's no way in my mind that Jimmy G wins the game. He might not lose it, and it might set the table for Eli Mitchell and the Niners defense to win the game. But there's a lot more pressure on San Francisco's defense having to stop these guys than vice versa. I think the Rams can take chances and they can be successful.
All right, we're going to get out of here in a couple of minutes. We're going to lock it up and see a couple of NBA plays on the chat from our buddy Kick here. Dan's in the house here, so I need to get caught up, pardon me, with Cat over 9.5 rebound. All right, we're going to get into a couple of NBA stuff here. Let me leave you personally. I'll leave you with this, and then you can hit with whatever you like. Matthew Stafford has a touchdown, an anytime touchdown in 2 straight games on the ground. If you wanted to be bold, go ahead, throw that. I personally am not, but I at least wanted to offer that as a pathway to play. The one that I do like, and look, again, I think you can be aggressive on this and double it down. But this feels like one of these games where San Francisco is going to say the only way we can beat the LA Rams is by taking Cooper Kupp out. It just feels like an Odell Beckham game. He's got a touchdown in 3 of the 4 last games as far as the Rams being favorites, coming in as the better team, meaning the opposing defense trying to take Kupp out of games. We've seen Beckham now thrive as that 1A to 2. So anytime touchdown, I can get Beckham around plus 130, 140. I don't love it. 140, actually. I don't love it as far as it, but I definitely over even money for Beckham for what he's been able to do. That's where I'll leave this game.
I don't mind the Odell call. I would strongly caution against the Stafford sneak stuff.
Oh, no. That was a joke.
No, I know. But for people looking seriously, in both games, Sony Michel or Akers, I thought they scored and they were down at the one inch line and they snuck it in. That's the only way you're getting there. It's not like they're ever going to design something for Stafford. Odell, though, I mean, there's no doubt he's found a really good groove here. He seems very content. He's contributing. You've got Higbee, you've got Kupp, you've got Van Jefferson. Odell will have opportunities. So all of that is, I think, again, why the Rams, I keep leading me back to the same point, why the Rams have real opportunities to break this streak. And if they don't, that would be a big disappointment. Obviously, the Niners.
We're holding you responsible if they don't.
You can hold me responsible. That's fine.
Yeah. We never hold you responsible for anything except for this one here.
That's fine.
All right, you ready for the monster ticket here that we've built as it'll lead us into a couple of hits on the NBA?
Done? Sure.
All right, so the first part of it, Jamar Chase over 85.5, over 54.5 total points. Byron Pringle, anytime TD. That alone, by the way, is plus 645 in a same game parlay. Any issue there?
I mean, I have no interest in playing that, but no, I don't have a strong stance against any of those.
Right.
Yeah, and that's half the battle. Like, I think
yes, it is.
It's like, okay, you know what? If the game gets going and there's a lot of points, Pringle can easily score, and Jamar Chase, one of the biggest weapons, if not the biggest weapon in the game.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm trying to come up with like extra credit to impress the teacher. And you're just like,
you know, believe me, you saw what happened. Like I said, it's all about picking the spots.
Absolutely.
Risk allocation, a lot of stuff like that, but I'm on board. Okay. What else you got?
Rams money line, Odell anytime.
Yeah. Now we're getting somewhere.
That alone, by the way, is plus 233, that 2-leg.
Rams money line, you said?
Rams money line and Odell anytime.
Yeah, so you knock off the 3.5, and obviously you're clearly hoping Odell scores. And if he does score, the Rams are more likely to win. Just a very simple same game parlay.
Now we get into Kick's play on the chat. And again, we appreciate you all. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're new to what's going on here, there's a ton of things happening, including from Dan to Bloomfield to Shelton and Kick in between, giving us sharp plays on the chat. And you out there, if you're new, we take everything. You don't have to be here forever in order to hit us up with a play. So he said he was thinking he liked going over for Korkmaz points. And I think the better way personally to play this would be and again, I like Korkmaz going over points tonight as well. If you like that, then instead of just going over his point total, to attack it from a 3, because Korkmaz is not driving to the hoop for 12 to 15 points tonight. He's knocking down threes. So instead of just going over his 11.5 points, I can get him at 3+ threes at plus 215. So again, it's correlated to where if you don't like Korkmaz, then don't play this bet. Like, don't even sniff it. But and the same thing with Malik Monk, where he's at 11 points. I like him from shooting more as opposed to slashing, scoring, getting to the free throw line. So 3+ threes for Monk as well at plus 225. You knew it wasn't going to stay rational forever, Ben.
I mean, that's your department, not mine. I will say that The NBA tools on Odd Chopper are my favorite to look at because the NBA is a much more projectable sport. You hone in the minutes. Alex and the team do a great job. So it's super simple. If you haven't been over there, you go to oddchopper.com. You can either search the player or you just click the 76ers and it brings up all of these props. And you can quickly and easily find the best numbers. That is what I'll be doing for the doubleheader tonight.
Look, Dan added Cat over 9.5 rebounds. It's not juiced heavy really at all. Get it at minus 105, depending on the book where you look at that. So pretty good track record that he's had against the Warriors as well. We're going to be targeting a lot of launches. So make sure you pay attention. Island game's going to come out for this one. So everybody, it might just be 4 3 plays tonight for this. All right, my friend, we're on our way out. I know you have a couple of college plays that we should keep an eye on, maybe something in the NBA, although the ones that I gave, I think are the ones that I'm going to play, and they're based off of the chat here. So if you need a third at play for me, by all means, but why don't you hit whatever you have on the hardwood, college or pro, before we get out of here?
So yeah, there's a million college games tonight, and I'll be breaking that down. I'll be in Discord. One of the many reasons, awesemo.com/join if you really want to get inside the ropes. But I'm going to throw one out there, and if you've watched this show before, you've heard me mention this team, and I like to do that. I know this team better than most because I've watched a lot of Bryant basketball before. They're on a 4-game win streak. They get Merrimack tonight. It's a 7.5 point spread. They just played Merrimack in Merrimack, and they won by 16. They've won all 4 games during this streak in pretty impressive fashion. They've covered 3 in very easy fashion. They're a top 50 tempo team. They like to speed the game up. They're like every team. They're much better at home. They're 7-1 in conference. They're much better than these teams. They had a tough non-conference schedule, took some losses. They played teams like Houston, Cincinnati, Clemson, Rhode Island. Now they're playing Merrimack. I do not think that a team like Merrimack can hang with them. Bryant lock it up by 10 plus tonight. They keep it rolling. They make it 5 straight.
Minus 7.5. So that's the only play. You not only is that your only play, you're locking it up in college. You don't
by far my
nothing
favorite
else.
Play. I mean,
you're not going to take the 7.5 at home for Central Connecticut.
I don't know. I couldn't spot them of a lineup of 1. I don't know anything about that team, and that's the key. If you hone in on some of these teams, you get a pretty good indication of what's going on. Bryant was a team, they were struggling to shoot. They couldn't find kind of their offense. And now they've really, really honed in 73, 82, 79, and 85 points over this win streak. That is what they want to do. They're an up-tempo team, and they're just simply better than these teams. So I don't really get the spread. I think this should be more in the 10, 11 point spread than 7.5. So that is my favorite bet, even though it's not a prominent game. Bryant Bulldogs, scary little team that no one's ever heard of.
Love it. I love it. All right, lock that up. I'll just keep it simple here. Nice and easy. Over 54.5 in the first game on Sunday. I just don't see how this game stays under 55 points. Desperation. Teams just abandon even running or even just what they've done consistently. So all of a sudden you start to see some gimmicks. You start to see some risks. Over 54.5 points for me. Anything else we need to hit on the way out?
No, of course, just stay tuned here as we march towards 3,000 subs. If you're enjoying it, give us that like, and we are going to have so much content leading you up to championship weekend. Then I don't even need to say this, but in case anyone was wondering, we will have more Super Bowl coverage and you'll know what to do with. We will be breaking down that game from every single angle, every prop, every angle that you guys want. We will be providing here with Odd Choppers. So for me, for Eytan, for Mike, I know I'm excited for the end of football here. There is plenty of money to be made.
Wisconsin -7. You locking that up? Nick Angel on the way out.
So that's an interesting one. I don't really know what to make of it. That's a good line. First of all, I see 7.5, 144.5 total. I guess Nebraska will try to speed them up. Wisco is one of the worst 2-point shooting teams I've ever seen. It would be Wisconsin or pass. I don't know how you back Nebraska, but they are on the road. So keep that in mind.
All right, we'll see you all next week. Thanks again for hanging with us. Enjoy anything you can possibly find to consume to place a wager on, and we'll see you Monday.